Fuck you. It's another game down. As I'm watching the credits roll, I'll tell a fun story. One day when I was playing Metroid over 20 years ago, my brother and a friend of his brought in a new game that I'd read about in Nintendo Power magazine, but I'd never seen it in action before. Usually when a movie or TV license is transferred to a video game, it's done very poorly by people who either rushed it or simply had no fucking idea what they were doing. Sunsoft, on the other hand, they probably had a better handle on this particular license than anyone else would have at the time. So today's game, we're going to be playing Batman for the NES. And we're going to play it until we win. Based loosely on the uber-famous Tim Burton movie in '89, Batman was released for the Famicom on Christmas Eve and brought to the US just in time for Valentine's Day the following year. Batman was a masterpiece when it came to games based on TV shows, movies, or even comics. You play the role of Alexander Knox on a journey to get the biggest scoop of his career and eventually move on to run a sports agency. Nah, just kidding. You play the role of the Dark Knight himself, as he takes down the armies of henchmen recruited by the Joker, as he unleashes his Smilex gas during Gotham City's 200th anniversary celebration. This game is hard, but for all the right reasons. The controls are tight, yet fluid. The difficulty is scaled just right. It's easy when it needs to be, but it gets hard as a brick when it wants to. The enemies seem to be nondescript and bland, but looks can be deceiving. You have your standard lowball thugs who will rush toward you. They go down, of course, after 1 or 2 shots. Pistol henchmen will never move from their spots. They'll simply crouch, uncrouch, and fire, then crouch again. They'll never fire while crouched, leaving you safe to play red light, green light. There's another stationary enemy that remains crouched, but will let loose a stream of fire in your direction. Same tactics as the gunner, red light, green light. Mr. Bitch Slap, as I call him, is on par with the standard thug in terms of how simple they are to take down. The Jader, on the other hand, oh god! This guy will bounce all over the goddamn place like a cat that's been fed an hourly dose of those energy drinks that's loaded with sugar and caffeine. You do not want to deal with this asshole up close, as he's fast and takes a lot of abuse before going down. What's interesting is that aside from the Jader, all of the aforementioned goons and thugs are ripped straight from DC canon. The standard thugs, with the backpack of course, is actually Shakedown. The standard thugs without a pack is Maximilian Zeus. The gunner is Deadshot. The flamethrower is Heatwave. And Mr. Bitchslap is Night Slayer. Wait, there's Batman villains that weren't in the movie? Yeah, Sunsoft apparently knew more about Batman than someone we all know and love.
Tim Burton said, anybody that knows me knows that I would never read a comic book. Which, to me, explains fucking Batman.
You have 4 ways of dealing with the criminal scum in Gotham City. The Batarang takes 1 unit to use, and it will be your best friend. The gun uses 2 units and supposedly fires darts. You will never really need this, save for one area of the game, and the idea of Batman using a gun doesn't make sense. The Dirk takes up a whopping 3 units to use, and throws 3 razor discs to cover a wide area. Save this for a certain enemy later on. You will never need this for any other reason. But if you follow this guide, you'll mostly be Batmaning your enemies to a pulp with standard punches. Let's get started! Stage 1, Section 1, Gotham City Streets. It's standard side-scrolling action. You won't need to jump very much, but it does help to learn how your character moves, jumps, and punches. You'll be fighting some of the Joker's henchmen here. You'll find a lot less of them later on, as they'll be replaced with more of these robots with drills sticking out the top. Luckily, you won't need to crouch to hit them, just punch the air. You'll hit that drill bit and that somehow doesn't tear up your fucking hands. Because hey, you're the goddamn Batman. Stage 1, Section 2, the construction site. Again, standard side-scrolling fare, but now you need to get used to jumping. There's a section where you can practice Batman's wall jumping ability, and while it's not important here, it does serve as a prelude to what lies ahead. Learn this skill and master it ASAP. There's also two enemies that you'll never see again in the entire game. Flying machine gunners that can easily be taken out with 2 batarangs. And a lazy ninja named Anatoly Nazev, otherwise known as KG Beast. How lazy is this guy? You can take him out with your punches before he finishes smoking. Take this derp shit out and proceed to the exit to face Killer Moth. This opponent has 2 attacks, a dive bomb, and an easily avoidable fireball pattern. Let's focus more on the dive bomb because that's what you want to happen. As the fight starts, Killer Moth will fly back and forth along the 2nd floor of Gotham City Hall, and dive at you when he reaches the opposite end of the plaza. Have your batarangs ready and throw one when he swoops down. Another attack to deal with is Killer Moth's fireballs, which, again, is easily avoided. The only problem with this is that you never quite know if he'll immediately swoop down afterwards or just fly to your side to attack, well, nothing. If this situation occurs, you may need to rush to the other side of the plaza just to pull Moth out of this infinite holding pattern. It's a rare occurrence, but it's a pain in the ass when it happens. Either way, Mr. Van Cleer goes down after only a few batarang shots. Goodbye, Batmobile, we hardly knew ya. Stage 2, Section 1, the Axis Chemical Factory. I hope you've practiced your jumping skills because it's for real this time, as Axis Chemical is now flooded with the deadly Smilex formula. You'll have to contend with some stronger enemies this time, but at least they're slow and only attack with a bitch slap. The only issue is whether you want to use your batarangs or jump to the small platforms they're on and beat the shit out of them. The second flamethrower is a good candidate for long-range dispatchment, but if you do wish to run over the gap, be quick to take him out before he knocks you off and back into the Smilex pit. Try not to let him do that. Finally, this is where the wall jumping starts to get a little, insane. At the end of the level, you'll have to clear a Smilex gap, but you can't make the jump without taking damage. So you'll have to fall off and bounce off the wall you were standing over. Get used to this crazy technique, you'll be dealing with more of this bullshit later. Stage 2, Section 2, Axis Chemical Electrical Systems. Your first annoying enemy makes an appearance in this level. Sentry guns that launch retractable claws. They can hit you from a long distance, just barely within enough range of your batarangs. At least you can bypass the first one. The next section is a long vertical climb up the electric grid, where you'll have to put your wall jumping to the test. The final section is 2 of those nasty jumps from the end of the previous level, but with an added level of bullshit. Even though you can clear the gap with enough practice, Sunsoft threw a suicidal henchman at the end of the second one just to fuck with you. Hopefully you're not freaked out enough to lose more than 1 health bar, but unfortunately this is unavoidable. Well, almost. Before you commit yourself to the jump, edge yourself to the end of the platform and wait. If you're close enough to the edge, you'll trigger the henchman and he'll kill himself before you jump over. Stage 2, Section 3, Axis Chemical Processing Plant. Spinning gears, bombs, and platforming? Oh my! This level may seem rough, but it's not. Especially if you have the uncanny ability to make your enemy work for you. Take the Drop Claw, for example, who debuts in this level. The Drop Claw spits out an endless supply of bombs that are annoying, but you can punch them and they'll always give up an item. Like, I don't know, hearts. And ammo, if you need it. Nothing special about this level. Try not to walk into the death traps. Take out Maximilian Zeus at the end, and prepare to face the Machine Intelligence System. Or MIS for short. This is a 3-stage boss that is more annoying than frustrating, if that makes any sense. You'll start with a pair of turrets that will be firing at you. After a few shots, the turrets will go down, then you can take out the secondary CPU. There's a conveyor belt and a laser shower that will make your life miserable, but that's if you're going to save ammo and punch it to death. I usually just flush against the electric barricade and use the gun. Just keep in mind that the laser shower can deflect your shots. Finally, you'll have the main CPU, which has its own defenses. This can be a pain if you're already low on health, but if you have at least 4 bars of health, just get up close and punch it, duck to avoid the shots, and punch it some more. Wait a minute, the Joker shoots you, then dumps you in the sewers, assuming you'll die from shit and piss infecting the gunshot wound? Who does he think you are? Some weak-ass billionaire? Whatever. Stage 3, Section 1, Gotham City's Sewer. It's another horizontal level, but with shredders in the water? Who the fuck commissioned this sewer system? The Foot Clan? At the start of the level, arm your expensive dirks and creep forward. When you see something jumping up and down, inch forward a little more until you can barely see the shoulder of the Jader, then jump up and down to match his movements and fire. Be sure to match his movements because even at full ammo, you only have so many shots with the dirk weapon. After taking him down, move forward until you see a hint of the platform ending and creep forward some more. Yep, another one. Take him down and the goons that follow. Be careful when crossing the large shredder pit, as there's another set of Jaders up ahead. The last one might be a problem though, as you can't jump down without fully exposing the Jader into the screen, triggering his insane AI. Not without taking a hit by walking onto the shredder flushed against the wall. There is a trick though, and it's not easy to spot, but you can. Can't you? Yeah, you can, because you're the Caped Crusader! Ha! You thought I was gonna say Batman, didn't you? Shit, said it anyway. Yeah, I'm kinda derp. After that, you have the last annoying enemy in the stage, a drop claw positioned against the edge. Take the hit and power through. Then reload on health and ammo before moving on to... Stage 3, Section 2, the Deep Sewer. Kind of a short level, but no less frustrating, especially when you reach the bottom where a Jader is waiting for you. Have your batarangs ready. This one you'll have to fight head on. Luckily, the second one you can inch kill. Eventually, you'll have to do some climbing, but before you start moving upward to the exit, there's a chamber to the left with a drop claw. Reload if you have to. Stage 3, Section 3, the Caves. Take out the drill ball with a batarang and get ready to do a bad rush. This is another one of the more annoying enemies in the game, the EEV. This tank can finish you off quickly if you can't close in on it fast enough. Luckily, once you start beating the fuck out of enemies like this, you won't sustain touch damage. It's strange how that works, but tuck that knowledge away for later. Another strategy would be to bypass the EEVs with the same glitch from Ninja Gaiden. Just back up a tad, and the tank should remove itself from the game's memory. After dealing with the second EEV, you'll have a drop claw to restock on health. Sadly, it's not over. You still have a long and frustrating vertical climb. Take your time with your jumps. You don't want to take too much damage, because there's one last EEV up ahead. Batman the fuck out of it, and move on to face Buczynski the Electrocutioner. This boss is rather frustrating, because he is one of the few enemies that will still damage you when being punched. Also frustrating, despite that he only has one attack pattern, he'll throw a wave of energy and jump to your side of the screen, hopefully to trap you in a corner and murder you. But you won't let him, because you're the goddamn Batman. Stand on the platform directly above you, and prepare to hug the left wall a lot. You'll be using it to help trick what is probably the simplest AI in the game. Mr. Zappy will jump toward you, and will still face the left, thinking you're still on the ground. Your goal is to make him continue to think this. He will jump upward, thinking he is going to catch you on the platform, but you're going to be slightly behind him, punching at him, because you're Batman. Now comes the fun part. When he lands, he will throw an energy wave to the left. Jump toward the wall, but slide down the side, bouncing back to the platform at the last second. If you timed it right, Electro will throw another energy wave to the left, then continue to jump up facing the left, allowing you another shot. This is one of the only safe methods to trick the AI into facing the wall and jumping in place. This fight may take up to 5 minutes if you're attempting a no damage run. Stage 4, Section 1, The Deserted Lab. The only hairy spot you'll encounter here is at the start, where you'll have to face the following: a proximity mine, a drop claw, and a jader. Be defensive, take your time with lining up your shots. Once you pass the TVs with the Joker chewing gum, there's a flamethrower and another pair of jaders. Nothing special, moving on. Stage 4, Section 2, The Deserted Hideout. The drop grab jumps get a little carried away this time around, and you might take at least one hit. During the end, with a drop claw positioned over an elevated grinder that's near impossible to grind health from. Sunsoft tends to throw in at least one minuscule yet dickish moment in their games, and there may be a way of bypassing this drop claw without taking damage, but as of this recording I have yet to figure it out. Stage 4, Section 3, The Deserted Facility. Luckily, the two drop claws at the start are easy to farm from, and you'll need them if you're not fast enough to punch the things as they pass by. I don't know, you never see them again anyway, fuck it. Cross the fire pit, cross it again with the smaller platforms, and cross the same pit again with even smaller platforms, conveyor blocks, energy discharges, and drill bots. Once you finally cross the pit for the third and final time, you have to go up some stairs, and meet some EEVs at the top. Every stair, save for the step just below the tanks, has a safe spot to crouch and avoid their fire. Just be ready to spring forward and Batman them to death. Finally, you're at the home stretch with two drop claws and our old dear friend, Mr. Bitch Slap. Load up on health, and move on to face the dual container alarm system. Get to the top of the center pillar, crouch, and start punching. You won't destroy the first one right away, but if you chase it down to the corner and resume punching, you will destroy it, leaving the other one to go into panic mode, which involves firing 3 rounds at all altitudes, thinking you'll be up there like that wussy Green Lantern. Keep punching and Batman that thing to death. Stage 5, the Gotham City Cathedral. Folks, Get the lube and spread them cheeks, you're about to get fucked up the ass. This level has some of the nastiest jumping sections in the game, but with only 5 chapters, that's to be expected. The first problem spot happens when you reach the long vertical climb up the bell tower. Remember when I told you earlier to master the wall jump? Here's your chance to shine, kid. Eventually you will reach an extremely narrow drop grab jump where, unless your timing is absolutely perfect, you are guaranteed to take a hit. I'm not kidding. Once you bypass that fuck you moment, you're greeted by a claw turret at the top. You might lose more health here as well. Take that thing out ASAP. You don't want to lose more health than you have to. Why? Because not far behind that section is another pair of claw turrets, and another fuck you drop grab jump of pixel perfect precision. If you survive that, pause the game and catch your breath. You just finished one of the toughest spots in the game. After that final section of neck-popping action, there's one final drop claw just below the exit. Take advantage of this. You'll need everything you can get because you'll face not one, but 2 bosses. Starting with the Joker's #1 henchman, Joe Rigger the Firebug. Immediately jump as Joe starts his initial punch rush to trigger his defensive jump. As he's jumping, flush against the left wall, arm your batarangs, and do not move. Joe will only fire his Hadouken from the other side and jump toward you, just out of reach, long enough for you to get one shot at him, and he'll retreat to throw another Hadouken. Repeat. If you happened to be a Nintendo Power subscriber in 1990, you may have glossed over a Firebug how-to strategy saying to use the Dirk. Do not do this. You will run out of ammo before you beat Joker's #1, a guy, and you do not want to try to outpunch this fucker, because you will die, and be sent back all the way to the beginning of the cathedral to do all that bullshit, and then die again, and die, and die. Once you take him out, you come face to face with the Joker, the man who killed your parents, the man who gassed the city, the man who had the gall to try to make Kim Basinger think she could act, leading to a horrible Roger Rabbit knockoff movie. Batman's greatest nemesis has a huge gun and can call down lightning? Batman is wise to both these ploys. Both can be easily avoided by standing as close as possible. The Joker can't shoot you if he has to pull a barrel back to actually hit you, and the developer gave him too simple a pattern to make him smart enough to do that. But be aware that firing his gun does make him stumble back a bit, far enough to put his barrel in position to hit you. Don't let him. The lightning can be avoided the same way, simply take a few small steps away from the Joker. Just be ready to move forward a tad because his gun barrel will have enough distance to fire once his lightning actually hits the ground. Once he attempts to fire his gun the second time, if he chooses to fire, Mr. Napier will make a break for the other side of the room so he can get a better shot at you. Just rapid punch him so you won't have to jump over, but be ready to chase him to get back into position to avoid Joker's 2 attacks again. Keep this up, and eventually... And remember, kids, Batman does not kill. The movie this game was loosely based on was the start of Batman's rise to becoming Warner Brothers' ultimate cash cow, and debatably DC's ultimate focal point. A lot can be said about the Tim Burton movie, and I'll leave it at that. Once upon a time I could never get past the electrocutioner. Now I can beat the game using only one continue. And hopefully after watching this, you can as well. Now it may sound like I'm shit-talking the game, but I highly recommend giving it a try as it's got great gameplay, kick-ass music, and it never wears out its welcome. But speaking of Ninjas of the Night, felt like doing a speed run.